Manager to sign the turnback agreement with PennDOT for the Cecil Racing Road project. Don't describe that to everybody.
Let me try Alan's microphone here. It's a little better. What is happening is a portion of Cecil Rising Road, which is now a state road, will be severed through the construction of the Southern Beltway. In doing so, the Turnpike will sever that road. The PennDOT will no longer take responsibility for that roadway. That roadway has a few homes on it, and it also serves Karen Drive, which has residential homes on it as well. So the state is going to turn back that road to the township. As part of the process, Bill, Joe Seitz, representatives from PennDOT, I was involved to some degree, did a tour of the site, a walk of the site, determined some deficiencies in the roadway. PennDOT evaluated those and determined it would take about $42,000 construction costs to bring that road up to an acceptable level. During the turnback process, what PennDOT does is they'll provide the township with the $42,000, and the township will be responsible either through its own forces or letting contracts to get that work done. After that work's completed, and the turnpike starts its work on that section of the beltway, they'll come in, the turnpike will mill, resurface that roadway, and construct a cul-de-sac. Joe, do you remember what to tell you there's adequate thickness of asphalt, I know that. But that's part of the process, and that's the reason why the turnback, they're requesting a turnback to the township is because of the severing of the roadway in the Southern Beltway. PennDOT has another, I guess, redundancy is that although I, as secretary, am authorized to sign all documents that the board approves, PennDOT is requiring a resolution, which is a motion by this board this evening, and additional resolutions that I'm able to sign.
So we understand that 41,000 is basically base repair and things like that, things to get it ready to be paved, and the turnpike will actually pave it.
That is correct. The items that they've identified are base repair, seal coat, there's some pipe.
Can you hear it back?
There are some pipe and stormwater items also on this, some guide rail, and end treatments for the guide rail, and as I said, stormwater inlet boxes, and that's enough to get it up to an acceptable level. And then, as a final treatment, when the turnpike comes in, they'll do the final paving for us.
At their cost.
At their cost, that's correct.
Well, I might just add real quick to Don's comment. Mike Haberman and I did an in-depth inspection of this road and created the punch list that Don is currently reading from, and prepared that to be submitted to PennDOT. So we have looked very closely, and we feel comfortable with the items that we've identified as deficient.
And actually, we don't have any choice, we have to take it. It's being forced on us. Any questions? Comments? Is there a motion to accept that turnback agreement?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. For 104-2017, we need to have public comments on the township's pollution reduction plan as required by PA, the Department of Environmental Protection, for our separate storm sewer system MS4 permit. I think Dan described it last month, and part of the process is to take public comment.
That's correct. The township has advertised its pollution reduction plan, and there's a public comment period that runs from July 26th through August 27th, followed by a 15-day comment consideration period. The time now is to allow at a public meeting just to acknowledge that and to take any comments if there are any from the public related to the pollution reduction plan. And just to remind everybody very quickly what that plan included was a consideration for both sediment and phosphorus. There are a responsibility by the DEP for the township to manage from areas that run through its separate storm sewer system. We've determined how much loading has to be removed from the system in the next 5 years of permit, and we've proposed some potential solutions to obtaining that reduction in pollution. So this plan will go into the DEP with any public comments that are received. The DEP will review this. We don't anticipate any response from them probably until 2018. That's when they will officially start the period for the next 5 years of the plan. So that's just a quick recap.
And I think what they're asking, if any of the residents have any input or suggestions or some expertise in this, if you want to submit it to Gateway, maybe those kind of ideas can be incorporated into our plan, which would effectively, or affect the plan itself.
And the plan is available for public inspection here at the offices of the township.
In what form?
It's in a Word document, it's in written form.
It can be printed out and they can take it with them. Okay. If anybody's interested, you can take a copy. We'll make sure this copy's available.
Yeah. That's all we need to do. We're just documented for the minutes.
Very good. Thank you. For the 105-2017, it's the minutes of the Monday, July 3rd meeting. Are there any comments or any changes or corrections? There's our motion to approve the minutes as they read.
Make that motion.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
The motion carries 4-1. Ms. Fisher abstained. Carol. For the 106-2017, for the general fund invoices from July 1st to July 31st, is there a motion to approve the general fund expenses?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
No.
Okay, the motion carries. Carol, 4-1 with Ms. Cowden, nay. All right, this time, Bill, anything good in the public works?
No, I think I've said all I've had to say for this evening. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Dan, Joe?
Yeah, just quickly on the engineer's report, just to highlight a couple things. The overlook at South Point Phase 5 is well underway. They'll be paving out there this week, just for the board's information. The Muse Elementary School, there's been a lot of activity going up there related to the improvements to School Street. We've met and reviewed some of those with Supervisor Aguizio. We've made some changes up there to what they're doing to make sure that there's adequate turning distance for the school buses until they actually complete that project. They're also up there running on the construction access again, because as I understand it, the parking lot had to be undercut and they're hauling a lot of dirt out of there. So in order to facilitate the work on School Street, trying to get open on time for the opening of school and getting the parking lot complete, they've been using two different access points. We're keeping an eye on that additional access that they're on other roads in the township. We have that documented from the beginning of the project, so we will do an inspection of that prior to any final bond release to make sure that the township roads are still in a good condition, and the school district understands that if there is any damage, it will be their responsibility. We have that documented. Just moving on in my report.
Dan, 1 second. Frank, thank you. We appreciate that you caught that up there about what the contractor would have done. It would have been premature for him to take out that area you noticed, and everybody agreed that probably was a good thing for the future access. So thank you for being up here.
You're welcome.
The McConnell Trails Plan Number 1. We also received a plan for the improvements to McConnell Road. Supervisor Aguizio was kind enough, as I understand, with another supervisor to go out and take a look at that in the field with Mike Haberman in our office. And just so there was a visual on the improvements that are being done up there before we provided any approval. The board approved the overall plan, but we're getting down into the detailed plans, and we just wanted to make sure we had some interaction with the supervisors to at least see what was going on in the field, and that's been accomplished. And I think at least my discussions with Supervisor Aguizio, we're satisfied that we're doing the right thing there to make the best improvement that we can make there. And that will be something that will be constructed in phase 1 of the development. They're going to be starting on that project probably in the next month or so. Bruce has finished the developer's agreement. They're getting geared up to get moving up there, as I understand it. So that's just an update on that project.
Excuse me, Dan, and then we talked about having actually an elevated area where to guide traffic through there rather than just painted lines. Is that going to be part of the spec still yet? Can you make sure that?
Yes.
And also, Mr. Chairman, Mike Haberman that day maybe suggested that we put rumble strips up the double yellow line to maybe help those people stay on the right side of the road, being we couldn't put concrete like megals and monuments because of the buses and trucks making the turn. So I thought that was a good suggestion from Mike Haberman, even though a lot of that's going to be done with inlaid tape rolled into the hot asphalt, the double yellow line, you can always just paint that and then mill rumble strips up there. If you travel down the road, you hit those, you sort of wake you up to stay on the right side of the road. So I think that was a good suggestion
Yeah,
from
Mike,
Mike Haberman.
as I'm changing the plan to include that.
Thank you.
Just a quick update, we did meet with the DEP regarding the ABB property on July 11th. The purpose of the meeting was to finalize how the Act 2 clearance would occur, and there's been some discussion and dialogue back and forth between our sub-consultant, American Geosciences, and the sub-consultant for ABB, or the environmental consultant for ABB. They've exchanged information. That information is getting back to the DEP so that they can finalize the plan and things can move forward.
Yeah, would you bring the residents up to date on that, about like the DEP's involvement for the Act 2 clearance, that the indemnifications for the township if they go to a certain level, and then about the water issue, that if that gets studied, that also protects the township if that study is done?
Yeah, there's two issues related to the property. There's number one, the issues of anything on the surface, and they're going to actually do some testing up there. They'll continue to put in some additional wells on the property and some other things to verify that the site is clean enough for use. And once that is established, then the DEP will actually issue what they call an Act 2 clearance, which will allow for reuse of the property and basically absolve it from any future environmental issues within that particular area. They're also going to check in on the groundwater as a part of this also, and to make sure that groundwater is also being addressed. That'll be a part of the plan, and that's what I recollect. If there's anything I missed.
Well, the study is underway for the groundwater study. He said it would take him 4 to 6 weeks.
Yes.
So it's underway.
Yes, it will be shortly. They're getting it geared up to schedule. And then lastly, freeze for me, and then I'm going to turn it over to Joe on Coleman Road. Just that Dawn is in receipt of the Green Light Go information regarding the adaptive signal modification down at South Point. If you recall, that grant was received. It's an 80% state, 20% local. 10% has already been committed to by SPOA 2. SPOA 2. Mike Haberman and I met with SPOA 1. We spoke to Roger Carrier today. They're actually taking a vote on this, and they will have an answer back on their agreement to match that 10% of SPOA 2, or to do something different prior to the next Board of Supervisors meeting. Although he did comment that they were taking an official vote through all the members just to make sure that they were doing everything legally as the way they need to do it. And there was some positive feedback, so I think it's going in the right direction. I don't want to spook you, but hopefully by next month we can report that there's a commitment on the match from the building owners down there at South Point on both parts of that.
Right, that's SPOA that he's talking about. That's the South Point Owners Association. There's 2 associations there in South Point, from South Point 1 and South Point 2. They are each picking up the 10% local share that's required after the 80% grant, as Dan mentioned. But it's the local share is going to be coming from the South Point Owners Associations.
And lastly,